This guy started as a nobody in the streets and rose to become the deadliest guy in the underworld. And got betrayed by the people he called family! Then he came back from the grave to finish what he started. Brent and Heat and Harry MacDowell. Two idiots trying to survive with nothing but fists and bad luck. They're just orphans who do whatever it takes just to make it out alive. Then, one job, a simple delivery that goes horribly wrong, changes everything. Out of nowhere, they ran into Millennion, the mafia that runs the entire city. And once you meet these mofos, you either join them or get sent to Jesus. Harry sees it as his ticket out. He's done scraping coins and living small. Bro wants power, respect, and everything this city said he couldn't have. Meanwhile, his best old friendo Brandon is not built like that. He only cares about two things: protecting Harry and his lovey-dovey Maria, the girl who somehow gives him the only reason to stay human. But Maria's life is all tied up with Big Daddy, the boss of Millennion himself. So Brandon can't get touchy-touchy with Maria, or he'll catch a bullet in the face. So he keeps his head down while Harry reaches higher. Two friends walking different roads in the same storm. Before they became big names in the underworld, Brandon and Harry were just two broke kids trying to survive a city that couldn't care less about them. They rolled with a small gang: Kenny, Jaleese, and Nathan. 5 idiots who thought street fights and small-time crimes were enough to keep them alive. Brandon barely talked, but when it came to Maria, he's a softie. Too bad her Unc Jester saw him as nothing more than trouble. After beating a rival gang led by Deed, they thought they'd made it. Turns out, fame in the streets is just a faster way to die. Deed's older brother, Mad Dog Lad, didn't take the loss well. He came for revenge, and it wasn't pretty and really tragic. One of the boys, Jaleese, was killed. That's when they realized they weren't kings of anything, and they're just stupid kids with nothing but their fists and a really, really messed up future. Then, out of nowhere, Bear Walkin showed up, a top enforcer from Millennion. And Bro has so much aura that with his presence alone, the whole street went silent. Harry saw that and made up his mind. He wanted that kind of power. Not for fun, not for fame, but so no one could ever step on him again. Brandon? He didn't give a shit about power. He just cared about loyalty, especially to Harry. And that loyalty is what dragged him straight into the darkness. Brandon and Harry are officially done playing small-time hustlers. After Jaleese's death, the whole city's after them. Harry's out here trying to fix things, begging for help from anyone who'll listen. But the city doesn't give a damn. The info broker snitched on him, and Harry comes back beaten, bleeding, and realizing just how small he really is. Meanwhile, Brandon turns to Jester, hoping he'll help them get out. But Jester isn't having it. He tells Brandon to leave town if he really wants to protect Maria. And just when it looks like things can't get any worse, Deed's men show up. Jester, old and outnumbered, still stands his ground. The man fights to the last breath, protecting Brandon. Then Mad Dog Lad shows up and ends him in cold blood. Harry and the gang rush in to save what's left, but it's already too late. One by one, they fall until only Brandon and Harry are left standing in the aftermath. Then, the man, the legend himself, Bear Walkin appears. Bro literally solos Lad's entire crew. And right there, after losing everything, Harry picks up a pistol and kills Deed himself. It's his first real step into the world he's been chasing. Brandon lost his family that night. Harry found his purpose. After everything that happened, only 2 names stayed in people's mouths: Brandon and Harry, the ones who made it out alive. They weren't the strongest, just the ones who survived. But fear doesn't last long out here. The streets move on, And Harry hates that. So he makes his move, loud enough for the whole city to notice. He walks into a local boss's turf, humiliates him in front of everyone, and walks out like he owns the place. It's stupid, but that's Harry. Nathan and Kenny are gone. The only thing left of them are their graves. Harry stands there, swearing he'll never bow to anyone again. Brandon doesn't say a word. He never does. Meanwhile, Maria's life things start to shift in an unexpected way. She meets Asagi Caldwell, the man running Millennion. He's calm, calculated, and his presence alone makes people tense up. He offers Maria safety, a home, a way out of the madness. To her, it feels like peace. To him, it's a move in the game. While Maria's trying to start over, Harry and Brandon get caught up in another street fight. A whole pack of thugs surround them, blades flashing under the alley lights. They fight back, but it's bad. They're cornered, bleeding, one mistake away from being erased. Somewhere in that mansion, Maria hears the news. She begs Asagi to help them. And he does, but not out of kindness. He sends his man, Randy. Randy shows up like death in a suit. Every strike is clean, practiced, efficient. By the time he's done, the alley is silent again. He looks at Harry and Brandon, both half dead but unbroken, and sees something worth betting on. Harry, of course, takes his shot. He asks to join Millennion. Brandon doesn't argue, he just glances at Maria's name in Harry's mouth and nods once. And that's it. Two nobodies finally step into the biggest organization in the city. Once you step into Millennion, there's no turning back. Everything they used to fight for on the streets disappears the second they walk through those doors. Freedom turns into business, loyalty turns into rules, and the cold streets feel warmer than this new world. Harry and Brandon finally make it in. Harry's already chasing power. Brandon just handles whatever job lands on his desk. He barely says a word, but people start noticing him anyway. Hitmen, loan sharks, all of them respect the way he moves. Time passes. The kid who used to dodge bullets now works for the people who fire them. He's not just surviving anymore. He's part of Millennion. After another long job, Brandon runs into Harry at their usual bar. Same drinks, same table, but they're not the same people anymore. Harry talks about power and the empire he'll build. Brandon listens, knowing their paths are slowly splitting apart. Before leaving, Harry slips him a note, an address, Maria's school. Brandon goes. When Maria sees him, she freezes like she's staring at someone who shouldn't be alive. For a second, the past almost feels real again. Then word gets around. Millennion finds out. The warning comes, stay away from her or pay the price. Big Daddy calls him in next. He doesn't need to threaten him. Just being in the same room is enough. He tells Brandon he can see Maria, but only inside his mansion, under his supervision. At Millenion's next party, Brandon meets her again. Everyone's smiling, pretending nothing's wrong. Then the lights flicker. Gunshots. A rival gang storms the event. Harry reacts first, taking one down. Brandon spots Big Daddy and shields him, but one bullet still finds its target. He collapses as Maria screams his name. The music stops, and in Millennion, every act of loyalty draws blood.
Why, Brandon?
Maria thought Brandon was dead. Then
believe
he's
it.
here again, standing in front of her. For a moment, everything stops. Just two people who've lost too much finally seeing something worth holding on to. But Millennion doesn't forgive distractions. People talk, orders come down, and they warn Brandon again. Stay away or disappear. Big Daddy calls him in.
Then follow
He
me.
doesn't say much, just studies Brandon, already
Maria.
knowing what kind of man he is. Then
Well.
he makes his choice. Brandon can see Maria, but only inside the mansion where he can keep things under his control. That place becomes their world. Maria starts to smile again. Brandon lets himself breathe. For a while, it almost feels normal. But nothing in Millennion stays untouched for long. Each visit feels shorter and promise feels heavier. Still, Brandon keeps coming back because she's the only thing left that still feels real. 5 years later, the city doesn't look the same, and neither do they. Brandon and Harry have gone from street rats to top dogs in Millennion. He became the quiet ghost of the organization, a hitman who gets things done precisely. Even the higher ups respect him. And in a place like Millennion, that says a lot. Harry, though, bro's playing a different game. The reckless street punk is gone. Now he walks in sharp suits, talks less, and lets others handle the bullets. He builds connections, cuts deals, and somehow makes even the most dangerous people trust him. With Lee and Bob at his side, he's helping build Millenion's empire, brick by bloody brick. But power always leaves echoes behind. Their success stirs the old guard, the men who've been running things for decades. The balance starts to shake, and everyone feels it. Brandon notices it too. He doesn't say anything, just watches from the background. Loyalty still means everything to him. But even he can feel the shift. The tension between old loyalty and new ambition. Harry's got that look again, the same fire in his eyes from when they were nobodies on the streets. But now, it's bigger, hungrier. The air starts to feel different around them, like something's building up, waiting to snap. So, years later, our boys finally make it to the big leagues. Brandon and Harry are at the high table now, officially part of Millenion's inner circle. They're not just doing errands anymore, they are the family. Inside Big Daddy's mansion, they meet the real power players. There's Bear Walkin, a man so stoic you could probably bounce a bullet off his respect. Randy, the silent executioner who follows orders like gospel. And Sid Gerald, who looks like the kind of guy that smiles while stabbing you in the back. It's all champagne and cigars at first, but under the luxury, you can feel the tension. In Millennion, loyalty is sacred. And mistakes? Yeah, those get people killed. Then one deal goes sideways. Blood spills, and somehow, Sid's own son is tied to the mess. Now, when family screws up, you're dead. The Code of Iron says betrayal must be paid in full, with blood. Bear gets the job. You can see the weight on him. The guy's walking towards his old friend, knowing exactly what's about to happen. He hesitates. For a second, he remembers who Sid was before all this. Before Millennion. Before they sold their souls for power. But mercy? That doesn't exist here. When Bear can't do it, Brandon steps in and killed him. Bear lowers his head. Harry watches from the distance, realizing Brandon's gone full Millennion mode. The same guy who once froze at pulling the trigger, now kills without blinking. 8 years pass. The city's changed. The faces are new, but one name starts floating around again. Blood War. Then there's Brad Wong. He might be old, but he is ruthless. He links up with Canon Vulcan, an old war buddy turned mob boss. The guy now runs a rival syndicate called Lightning, because of course, he does. Over whiskey and cigarette smoke, Vulcan drops something insane. A project called Necro-Rise. Apparently, it's a plan to bring the dead back as soldiers. And Wong? He's all in. He drops his old crew, Vulcan, without even blinking. Because loyalty means nothing to a man who only breathes for power. While Lightning's cooking up its undead army, Millennium starts to take notice. Harry, now Big Daddy's golden boy, gets told to investigate. To him, this isn't just another gang threat. It's personal. Someone's trying to play God in this city. So, one night, Harry and Brandon roll into this sketchy bar on the edge of nowhere. They're just there to listen. But, like always, Trouble decides to pull up a chair. The door creaks open. Canon Vulcan walks in with Blood War right beside him. Instant tension. The whole room goes quiet. Wong spots Harry, smirks, and says, Millenion's pet. You think you own this city? Harry doesn't even flinch. Only the parts that matter. That's when Wong's hand twitches towards his gun. He's drunk, angry, and about to make the dumbest move of his life. But before he can even blink, click. Brandon already has his revolver pointed right at his skull. The whole bar freezes. You could hear the glass sweating. Then Vulcan steps in, cool and composed. Enough, Brad. Not tonight. Wong snarls but drops the gun. The two walk out into the rain, leaving nothing but tension behind. Outside, Harry lights a cigarette. The flame flickers between him and Brandon, reflecting two completely different men. Neither says a word. They don't need to. Because that night, both of them realize something's changed. Millennion isn't fighting humans anymore. Something darker is waking up in the city. Millennion and Lightning are done playing nice. Both sides are gearing up for war, and the city can already feel it. Wong moves first. He runs into Brandon and Bungie in the middle of the street. Before anyone can even pull a gun, the ground erupts. A chain of explosions rip through the district, lighting up the night. The city falls into madness. People run, buildings crumble, and in that smoke, Lightning's real weapon finally shows itself. The undead! A twisted army of reanimated soldiers. Millenion's strongholds start falling one by one. No matter how many bullets they fire, the corpses keep coming. Harry scrambles for answers, trying to keep the family from tearing itself apart. But something feels wrong. Lightning always knows where to hit. Too precise, too fast. That's when he realized there's a traitor inside Millennion. Meanwhile, Wong's ambush leaves Brandon and Bungie outnumbered. After a brutal fight, both are captured and dragged to a warehouse filled with corpses that refuse to stay dead. That's when everything clicks. Blood War steps out of the shadows, the guy pulling all the strings. Their real target? Big Daddy, the head of Millennion. Brandon hears it all, stays calm, and agrees to meet them. Because loyalty is the only thing he's got left. Back in the city, Harry digs deeper and finds the truth. The traitor is Lee, one of their own. A man connected by blood to Canon Vulcan, Lightning's top boss. Harry doesn't call for backup. He doesn't report it to Big Daddy. He simply walks into Lee's office, gun in hand, eyes cold. Lee smiles, pretending nothing's wrong. Harry doesn't blink. You've been feeding them, haven't you? Lee doesn't deny it. He only laughs and calls Harry ambitious, saying they're not so different. Harry's silence says everything. When the two draw their guns, it's over in seconds. While Harry's settling scores, Brandon is already walking into the lion's den. The warehouse doors creak open, and the stench of death fills the air. Blood War waits, surrounded by the undead, his grin daring Brandon to make the first move. The city's finally lost it. Millennion and Lightning are tearing each other apart, and every corner soaked in smoke and gunfire. Harry's somewhere in the upper floors, facing off against the one man who stabbed the family from the inside. Lee. He's not the same charming businessman Harry once trusted. Now, he moves like a ghost, slipping through shadows, taking shots that come out of nowhere. Harry fights back, but Lee's faster, colder, and way too confident. Every hit Harry takes feels like a reminder that power always bites back. Meanwhile, down below, Brandon and Bungie are knee-deep in hell. The dead men swarm the streets, corpses packed with bullets but still walking. Normal ammo's useless. Brandon unloads clip after clip, but they just keep coming. Then he switches to the D-point rounds. the kind that punch through anything with a pulse. The first shot hits, and the dead man drops like a stone. Finally, something works! The two fight side by side, covering each other's backs, carving a path through the undead. It's a mess, but they move like they've been doing this their whole lives. Still, the dead men don't stop. Each wave just keeps coming. By the time the smoke clears, both Brandon and Bungie are half dead themselves, bleeding but still standing. Back in the tower, Harry's barely holding on. Lee's got him cornered, blade pressed to his throat. Then Harry does something no one expects. He starts talking. He tells Lee about a world where they're not just pawns under Big Daddy, a world where they make their own rules. Something in Lee flickers. Maybe it's the exhaustion, maybe it's the truth. But for one strange moment, he listens. Harry offers his hand. Lee hesitates, then takes it. And just like that, the traitor becomes the first man to side with Harry's vision. Together, they turn their aim on Lightning's boss, Cannon Vulcan. The man barely has time to raise his gun before Harry and Lee unload everything they have. Vulcan's empire collapses right there in the flames. But before the dust settles, Wong steps out from the shadows, blood dripping from his coat, still chasing that insane dream of raising the dead. He promises his soldiers eternal life, but their necro-rise corpses start decaying from within, their power turning against them. Brandon corners Wong in the wreckage. Their guns meet, their eyes locked. One shot rings out. Wong stumbles back, clutching his chest. He limps toward Vulcan's body and lets out one last bitter laugh. Two men who built a kingdom of corpses, dying beside the only thing they ever truly created, their failure. As their lamp burns, the city finally quiets down. The war might be over, but everyone knows peace won't last. Not in Millennion, not when men like Harry are still breathing. Time doesn't heal much in Millennion. It just hardens whatever's left. Brandon's alive, but barely living. Every day he moves like clockwork. Wake, work, kill, repeat. He's earned respect across the family now, but it doesn't feel like pride. It feels like debt. Every face he's ever cared about either left him, betrayed him, or died in front of him. Then one night, the past walks back into his life. Maria. Her presence cuts through all that cold silence. She's learned the truth about Jester's death, about the way Millennion chews up everyone who serves it. And when she looks at Brandon, she sees the proof standing right in front of her. They don't say much. They never needed to. But that small quiet meeting reawakens something in him. Something human. Something dangerous. After that, Brandon changes. He starts training harder, pushing himself until his body feels like iron. He gathers a small group of trusted men and calls them True Grave. They're not just hitmen, they're professionals, efficient, disciplined, and loyal. Rumors start to spread that True Grave is almost as strong as Bear Walken's overkills. Even Bear takes notice, though he never says it out loud. He sees the same calm in Brandon that he once carried in his own youth, before time and blood wore him down. Meanwhile, Harry's world keeps spinning faster. He's finally made his way into Big Daddy's inner circle, but that isn't enough. His charms turn Sherry's heart, and through her, he's even closer to the top. But love isn't what drives Harry. It's the climb! I'm good, aren't I? Anyway, when Bear Walken starts warning him to slow down, Harry just smiles, because he's already looking past the family. In secret, he meets a man named Dr. Tokioka, the same scientist behind the Negro Rice Project, the one that nearly destroyed everything. Harry doesn't see a monster in him. He sees potential. As their hands meet, a shadow falls over the family. It's dinner time at Millennion, and everyone's smiling like nothing's wrong, even though half the table's ready to kill each other. Verwagen, the definition of old school respect, decides to trust Harry with something precious his daughter, Sherry. Meanwhile, Harry's starting to show cracks in that perfect loyalty act. He's not just dreaming big anymore, he's scheming big. Then there's Randy, one of the few dudes who still smells something off. He's side eyeing Harry like, "Bro, I know you're cooking something and it ain't dinner." But before Randy can open his mouth, Bob and Harry pull an Uno reverse straight out of the Mafia playbook, framing him for money laundering linked to the Necrorize project. And where's Brandon in all this? Oh, he's deep in his tragic anime MC arc. Maria still loves him, but Brandon? He's basically married to the job. He watches her from afar like a ghost who refuses to move on. And when he finally has the chance, he just lets her go. He literally gives up on Maria's love. And Big Daddy, the boss, actually admits he admires her too. So, yeah, that's awkward. Brandon, ever the loyal soldier, decides that if this world's gonna eat him alive, he'll let it. As long as Millenion stands. Bro is all in, even if it kills him. Meanwhile, Bungie, his protege, gets his first big hit job, taking out Randy. This kid's about to learn the hard truth of what it means to be part of the family. One by one, the family starts falling apart. Except for Harry. Because snakes don't die like that easily.